Alright YouTube, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today's video is inspired by Jeremy Sears. He posted the video very similar to this recently, and it just inspired me to make a video with similar talking points. So if some of the points that I talk about in here are the same as his, just know that I've included these because I feel like they can't be overstated. So a lot of the time when we're in our 20s, I feel like that is the point in life where we have, as he says, the most freedom. However, the problem is it is also the time in our lives where we are setting ourselves up for either success or failure in the next few decades. So for us in our 20s, it's important that we get these things right and that we don't do, or at least don't overdo, many of these things that I'm going to talk about here. So without further ado, here are some mistakes that we make in our 20s that are absolutely killing us. The first one is going to be drinking constantly. Now, growing up and spending most of my 20s in the Marine Corps, I have really come to realize that drinking is a interesting thing. It's got a lot of complexity to it, right? There is the kind of drinking where if you enjoy it in moderation and you only drink every now and then, you can enjoy a nice glass of whiskey or a nice glass of wine or something like that, or maybe or a nice beer, a nice IPA, something, to the point where it doesn't completely screw you up the next morning. However, that's not really what I'm talking about. If you are the kind of person who is just pounding drink after drink, night after night, and waking up hungover every single morning, even if you're only doing it on the weekends, that can still add up. When I was younger, as in 21 through about 25 years old, I was the type of guy who loved to go out with his friends and constantly consume alcohol, and just drink from Friday night all the way to Sunday in the afternoon. And the thing is, it does eventually catch up to you. At some point, you have to leave it behind. You have to leave it behind because in my opinion, once you hit that age of about 25 years old, you really have to shift your focus and buckle down in that second half of your 20s and start getting ready for the time when you turn 30. Drinking is, as I've spoken about before, it's very expensive. It can cost you your health. And it is generally not something that is, it's not a good habit to have throughout your life, and it will shorten your life if you let it. The next thing that we're going to talk about is very, very similar, but I believe that it is 99.9% unacceptable, and that is drugs. Doing drugs, like narcotics, overconsumption of THC, marijuana, all of that stuff, frankly, drugs, I don't see any benefit to taking drugs at all. There really is none. Drugs, especially narcotics and especially amphetamines or synthetic drugs, will absolutely ruin your life and put you on a path to failure. As you can see, based on the stuff I have in the background, I had to decorate somehow, right? Based on the gun I have in the background, I am a firearms owner. I would not be allowed to own firearms if I was a drug user. There is a question on your form 4473, which is the paperwork that you fill out for the ATF when you are getting a firearm, when you are purchasing one, that asks you if you are a unlawful user of a controlled substance. Basically, are you taking drugs? To not do drugs. Do not do drugs. Do not do steroids. Do not do amphetamines. Do not do narcotics, any of that stuff. Just avoid it. Avoid it. It will ruin your life. It will probably kill you in the short term or in the long term. And it's just not something you need slowing you down in the best years of your life. The next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be poor diet. I won't lie to you, I literally just finished chowing down on some McDonald's after the gym. But so it's almost a little bit hypocritical for me to talk about this, but what I can say at least is that when it comes to something like eating fast food, or pounding energy drinks, stuff like that, like overconsumption of caffeine, eating junk food. If you are not, if you are doing it consistently, rather, like every single day, it's a problem. Like, you are going to eventually suffer the effects, the physical effects of your daily poor choices later on in adulthood, and that is something you really want to avoid. If you are going to consume, like, your cup of, or your McDonald's burger, or your pizza or whatever, like, if you're going to do that, just make sure it's not a regular thing. Make sure you, like, maybe reserve that for the weekend. I had a staff sergeant when I was in the schoolhouse, who did nothing but eat chicken, spinach, broccoli, and rice for 5 days a week, 3 meals a day. And then on the weekends, he was able to go out and have a flexible diet. He could do whatever he wanted in terms of his food consumption. And he ran a 4-minute mile, and he did 40 pull-ups, which is more than most men can say they've ever done in their lives, frankly. So I just want that to serve as an example. If you're going to consume junk food, make sure it's not a regular thing. Control your intake, control your urges. But overall, I would recommend that you guys watch your diet. Next up, along with that, is going to be lack of exercise. I've talked about the importance of exercise before, so I'm not going to beat the dead horse too much. But just make sure you get out there, you get either in the gym or on the road, or you do some push-ups every now and then. Do some push-ups, do some freaking squats, do some crunches. Like, do something to get your body moving and get active, because the longer you wait to start exercising, the harder it's going to be the older you get. Because a lot of people in this nation today are not exercising enough, and they are reaching the age where their body is starting to break down. Those health decisions that they made in their early 20s are starting to catch up to them. And now that they are older, they want to get in the gym and start making progress towards their dream body that they've always wanted. But now they face a much more uphill battle because of the fact that they procrastinated on exercising so long. I just don't want to see you guys get like that. Make sure you guys start exercising early on. That way, when you get older, it's a lot easier for you to do. Next up is going to be too much Netflix and too much streaming services. I have my nights where I like to sit down and not do anything at all, and just, have Netflix on in the background, like, or, maybe binge watch my favorite show. But I gotta say, like, I have to say, if I wanted to be happy, if I want to be successful in my personal and professional life, then I know for a fact that consuming, like, Netflix and streaming services is not going to get me closer to that goal. I don't come up with ideas for these videos by watching Netflix. I don't get work done when I'm sitting and just binging YouTube videos. In fact, like, we actually have the capability to watch YouTube videos at work, and I can tell you straight up that whenever I have YouTube on, it is 100% taking me away from the task that I have in front of me that I should rather be doing. So just make sure you're controlling your consumption of streaming services and online content, because it could really hold you back from doing the things that you actually need to do in life, whether they be things at your job or things in your personal life. Along with that, you have social media. Social media is an absolute demon, and I know it's really ironic, again, because I'm here on a social media platform talking to you guys, but I hope that, the point of this video is the point that I'm getting across in this video is for your betterment, right? But regarding social media can be an absolute wrecker of your mental health. If I don't know how to put that more eloquently, but it will wreck your mental health, is what I'm saying. The thing with social media is that the algorithms on social media designed to keep you on it for as long as possible. You have to understand that your mind and your attention is the product that social media sells to companies who want to advertise to you. So anytime you're scrolling through social media and you see ads, it really can hurt you. It oh my god, it can really hurt your mental state because you see things that you might not otherwise would have. You see other people living their lives and going about their business, and you compare yourself to them. You see ads for products that you otherwise probably wouldn't have bought. And it goes on and on and on. And the more time you spend on social media, the worse it gets. At some point, you have to put the phone down, you have to go out and touch grass and smell the flowers and listen to the birds sing and just be a part of real life. Because I guarantee you, you will be much happier when you do that. Next up is overestimating short-term success. Success, at least in the way that we see it portrayed a lot with figures like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Barack Obama or whatever, right? Insert successful figure here. The thing with all of these people, the thing that puts all of these people into the same category is that their success did not happen overnight. One of my favorite role models, David Goggins. Surprise, surprise, I worship a Navy SEAL, right? Anyway, one of my favorite role models, David Goggins. That dude did not become who he was overnight. If you haven't read his books, Can't Hurt Me and Never Finished, I highly recommend that you do. I highly recommend that you go out and read those books and you read about the trials and the tribulations that he went through from the earliest days of his childhood to who he is now as a man approaching middle age, right? And still like going at it and still kicking at the highest levels of the fitness game. That dude is an absolute beast, and it took him all of his life to get to where he is. It didn't happen overnight. There are times in our lives where we do have these epiphanies and we realize that maybe the path we're on isn't the right one. Maybe we need to make a change in our life, and it will happen like that. If you're paying attention, you might see it. But what comes next is a very, very long process towards growth that will take years, and you have to be paying attention to that. So the next mistake that people in their 20s make is having a huge ego about everything and having the inability of people to take constructive criticism. I can remember times in my life, especially in my teenage years, when I had a very, very serious problem with authority, especially the authority of my parents. I did not listen to my parents enough. I probably should have listened to them more. I probably should have obeyed them a lot more, because if I had, then simply doing what they told me to do would have probably kept me out of a lot of trouble. And that is something that I have since learned and have now come to live with and come to accept. But the point here is that if you're the kind of person who is unable to take constructive criticism well and derive the lesson from that, you are never going to grow in life. A lot of people out there are not out to get you. A lot of people out there are just trying to help you, especially your friends. If your friends are telling you that you need to do something differently or that you need to change this habit or X, Y, and Z, they're not saying that because they're trying to put you down or because they're being abusive. Sometimes your friends are calling you out on your behavior because they want the best for you. And if you can't see that, that's your problem, not theirs. So every now and then, you need to take your ego out of the equation and you need to listen to the advice that people give you. Because if you don't, you could end up on a really, really bad path. The next thing that we're going to talk about is avoiding risk. And this is a two-parter. If you're not, if you're too afraid to ask that boy or that girl out, or if you're not taking on that extra task or that the boss really needs to get done, that you might actually get recognized for, whether it's a medal or a raise or something like that. If you're too scared to enlist, or if you're too scared to apply to that dream school, or put in that application for your dream job, you need to rethink that. You need to rethink how much courage you actually have, and you need to sum up. All right? Think about what your life could be like. Think about what your life would look like if you just took that risk. If you just had some more courage and you took that risk and did the thing and got through it. Imagine what your life would be like. It would probably be much better than it is right now. I promise you that. Now, on the other hand, there is a such thing as taking too much risk, and more often than not, in the case of people in their 20s, that's how it is for us. We, as people in our 20s, freedom, like, we can do all these things, we're finally getting a paycheck, we're doing the things we want to do, like, nobody can frickin' stop us. Like, sometimes, every now and then, we take risks that simply are not worth it. You drive drunk, you start fights with people at the bar over petty stuff, you engage in illegal activities like theft, rioting, or you do these like stupid, like dangerous dares or challenges like the Tide Pod challenge from a couple years ago. And then there was this like terrible like trend of licking toilet seats for a little bit. Like people started getting like E. coli infections and stuff from that. Like don't do that. That like only a real moron would actually do something that dumb, right? Like let's just use our brains for a moment and try to think about the benefits of eating a Tide Pod or licking a toilet seat or starting a fight over something dumb, right? Is there any benefit to doing any of that stuff? Why are you in those situations to begin with? Why would you think that's a good idea to begin with? Think about that. Like, if it's not worth it to do those things. I shouldn't even have to explain this. Yeah. Don't lick toilet seats, guys. Don't do that. Don't do it. The next thing we're going to talk about is rushing major life decisions. Oh boy. When you are in the military, right, you are typically famous for doing new privates graduating boot camp, regardless of the branch that they're in, are typically famous for doing one of two things, or both. They either A, get married immediately to their high school sweetheart, or B, get a Dodge Charger, Challenger, or Ford Mustang for a ridiculous interest rate. Something absolutely crazy like a 30% APR or whatever. If you rush into major life decisions like that, like getting your first loan / first car, or getting married right at 18, you could really screw up the next few years of your life, and you could bring about a lot of unnecessary misery upon you. Marriage, careers, education, and finances are not all things that you're going to have figured out by the age of 18 or 21. It's going to take time to understand what you really need to do to progress in these things. So make sure that you're not going too fast, okay? Slow it down a little bit. You've got time to figure this out. The next thing that we're going to talk about is not building a strong network. Look, if there's two sides to this, right? If you don't make friends with people and surround yourself with individuals whom you can learn from, you'll never grow as much as you otherwise could. Sure, you can embark on your own journey and try to be a lone wolf and go about it on your own and figure it out, right? But I guarantee you that if you had some good friends and some smart people on your side who care about you and who want to see you succeed and who are successful themselves, that's also important here. If you had people like that in your life, imagine how much further you could go. Instead of just, trying to go it alone and figure it out and stumbling and falling along the way and having to get back up. The thing about having a network, right, is that those people can mentor you and guide you when you're lost and you don't know what to do. And they can also prevent you from learning lessons in life the hard way, right? Because those people have probably been through some very tough experiences of their own. Imagine if you were facing a situation in which it was either sink or swim, and you just didn't know what to do. What if you had someone there who was able to give you the guidance that you needed to be able to swim, right? Instead of you being alone and then sinking and then getting into a situation in which there's no way out. Imagine if you had someone on your side like that. That is the importance of having a network. If your friends, also this is also the second part of this equation. The thing is, right? As I said before, these people have to be successful. If your friends are not pushing you to be better, if they're not pushing you to quit your bad habits or grow as a person, you need new friends. Look, if like to take the people that I knew back in the day when I was going out and partying every weekend. I love those guys. They mean a lot to me. But I'm not going to go to them and ask them, "Hey, how do I build a multi-million-dollar real estate empire? Hey, how do I build a successful YouTube channel?" Because I mean, look, no offense to them, but they haven't done those things. They're not experts in that. I'm going to go to I don't know. If I want to build a real estate empire, right? I'm going to ask Alex Camacho or someone like that. If I want to build a super successful YouTube channel, I'll talk to Matt Davella or Mr. Beast. Not that he would ever answer my emails, right? But I'll talk to someone like that. You know, someone who's actually been there and done that and been down that road. You have to have the right people surrounding you in order to grow from them. If you surround yourself with people and you are not the smartest person in the room, you know you're in the right place. Moving on from that, because I think we beat that horse to death as well. If you are not listening to your elders, you are absolutely screwing up. At a certain point, you just need to shut your mouth and open your ears. No one I know ever built a strong network by bragging about how incredible they were already. Anytime my first sergeant or my captain or my commander or any of my bosses really opens their mouth, I close mine. Because it matters what they say. What they say matters, and what they say is probably for my benefit too. You should think about doing the same thing. The next thing that we're going to talk about is staying in abusive or toxic relationships. It doesn't matter who you are or who your partner is, whether you're a man, a woman, or whatever, right? If you're in a relationship and you're being controlled financially, physically, or emotionally, you need to escape. No one deserves to be abused or mistreated. You deserve someone who loves you and is going to treat you right, and who is going to take care of you and look after you and support you when you were going through hard times. They shouldn't add on to your hard times, right? Like this is a very simple concept to understand. If you are in a relationship and your partner is making your life harder and not easier, get out. Just get out. The next thing that I want to talk about is neglecting lifelong learning. A lot of guys in their 20s, or a lot of people in their 20s really, stop learning after 18. They stop learning after college. I really don't care if you have a degree. I've met so many I know so many college graduates that are just like absolute idiots. Like you have like people who just have zero life skills. Like, yeah, you have a bachelor's degree, right? But like how much maturity and how much have you actually been through that gives you perspective on life and the ability to understand and conduct yourself in a way that will bring you and others joy. You know, like at the end of the day, formal schooling is one thing, but the quest for knowledge after formal schooling, if you stop that quest, it can limit your personal and professional development. Life is the greatest teacher out there, and some of the hardest and most powerful lessons that I have learned have not been in the classroom. They came from the books that I read, or the people that I have met, or the decisions that I either made or didn't make. All of those lessons have stuck with me to this day. And the last thing that I want to talk about, because, you know, I've been talking a lot about things that, you know, you really shouldn't do. But if you're not doing the things that make you happy, then you're wasting your time as well. look, in Jeremy Sears' video, right, he had a really good quote that I simply had to write it down. He said, take everything in moderation, including moderation. I thought that was one of the most poignant things I've heard this week. It was one of the wisest pieces of advice that I have heard this week. And the reason that is so powerful to me, right, is because, I've said so much in this video about things that you shouldn't do. But at the end of the day, if you're a responsible person, and if you take care of the things that you really need to, like paying the bills, filling your car's tank with gas, going and working out, eating right, and all the other things that I've talked about, like doing your job, whatever. If you're doing all those things and you're taking care of all those things, then there is no reason why you shouldn't do the thing that makes you happy. Life is all about striking the balance between the things that we need and making enough time for the things that we want. You should go to that cigar bar with your friends every now and then. Like every couple months, hitting the cigar bar with your friends is not a bad idea. Go and eat that bowl of ramen. We don't always get to. You can't always fly to Japan. Not everyone's rich like that. Go and eat that bowl of ramen. If you've been eating, if you're like my old staff sergeant and you've been eating chicken and rice the entire week and you just want to change a pace, why not? Go get that bowl of ramen. Laugh with your buddies. Talk to them. Talk to your friends. Have fun. Laugh every now and then. It's important. It makes you better. It makes you happier. Call your parents and talk to them because they probably miss you. And while you're in your 20s, it's very likely that they're not too old yet. So make sure that you spend as much time with them as you possibly can because they're not getting any younger. They're not going to be around much longer. Shoot those guns. I'm a gun guy. I like shooting guns. It makes me happy. I like shooting. It's an experience for me. It's training. It makes me happy. So I'm going to do it. Buy that watch. This is a watch channel. I make videos about watches. If you can afford it, if it's not going to make you miss your mortgage payment, if you're not going to miss your rent next month, if you're going to be able to pay your insurance bill like X, Y, and Z, if your bills are taken care of and you can afford that watch, then why not? Do the thing that makes you happy. Hike that hill. Go to the beach and have a couple cold ones. Whatever it is, just make time for the simple pleasures every now and then. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you stuck to the end, I really just want to thank you for supporting me thus far and being there with me throughout this journey on YouTube, because frankly it's been quite a long, well, it really hasn't been that long at all. It's been less than a year. No, I just want to thank you guys for sticking with me so far and for for keeping faith in me. I do really genuinely appreciate it. You guys are awesome. With that being said, stay blessed and stay safe. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.